Hello everyone. Richard from Revive My Retro again. And I've got another console that I ordered. This one was from eBay. Um, and it's an actual sold as not functional. So I got a nice discount, and this one's a special one. So I'm just opening up the package now. This is the first time I've looked inside. Lots of bubble wrap. That's good. I'll probably keep the bubble wrap, reuse it for something. Let's go ahead and take this out. Get out the box. See what we got. Ooh, lots of bubble wrap. Okay, this is a Japanese Super Famicom. And the description of this was that it output just a black and white fuzzy image. So, love to see if I can get this one up and functional. What I really like about this is the Japanese style casing, this is the Super Nintendo that I grew up using, this kind of style. So I really like the way this one looks. And something I will do with this one is de-yellow it too. So I want this to look as good as possible. So otherwise, it's in good shape, other than being deeply yellowed and stuff like that. But let's see if we can get this one fixed up. So I got obviously a game with it. I have Japanese games, but yeah, I got one that came with it. So let's get this plugged in and see what the image looks like. So I got it all plugged in, get it powered on, and I get absolutely no image on the screen. But I am getting sound. So no image, but sound. This is for regular composite. So I know the Super Nintendo supports RGB as well. So let's see if any RGB signals are coming out of this thing. So I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to plug in the RGB, and let's try and power it on again. Okay, this is RGB. And it's the same thing. Absolutely no image coming out of this thing. So it's a good one to work on. Let's open it up and see if we can save this thing. Okay, something just happened. Had it on for a second, and there is something coming up, actually, which is interesting. It's really bad image, but it's all fuzzy and looking awful. So there's definitely something wrong with this, and I think it's probably a power-related issue. Most likely bad capacitors. Because of the way that image is kind of coming up after letting it stay on for a little bit. So I bet you that's the problem with it. But we'll find out. We'll do a recap on this thing. First thing I always like to do is a recap, and then see if the issue clears up, because most of the time that is the problem. So let's get to work on this. Okay. Okay, looking at the board, I mean the capacitors don't look terrible, but if you zoom in, like for example with this one, if we look at this one, see how the contacts to the board there, where it's actually soldered on the board, you can see they look clean, like they're silvery clean. But then if you go up here to these ones, see how there's like some corrosion on these ones? I don't know if it's clear on my camera. I'll try and get as close as possible. You can see like this corrosion right there. It's like that one too. I believe that's like where they've kind of been leaking underneath. And some of that fluid that's in the capacitor has been slowly kind of coming out, and you've got to be careful with those traces because I bet you, they're fragile at this point. But I bet you that's part of the issue. So they're not supposed to look like that. So let's get all these changed out and then see if there's any improvement to this console afterwards. I also opened up the sound module, and the sound module, because it's contained in here, it's usually the best well preserved. I don't see any problems with the capacitors in this one, but they still should be changed out. So I'll be doing that too. Get those changed out, and I'll clean the shielding on them too. I always do that. I don't like the way these rust. And the underside was in way better condition, but I like to have this thing looking like it's new. So I clean those too. So yeah, let me get to... well, first I really want to see if I can fix this before I do all the work of de-yellowing the casing and cleaning the casing. So let's get the actual board working first, make sure we can fix it, and then I'll clean the rest up, and then we'll check out the result at the end. Okay, here we are at the workbench. So let's go ahead and get these old ones out, and then the replacements in, and then we'll test it and see if it's made any improvement, and then I can focus on cleaning things up. And I'll probably upgrade the voltage regulator too. I love doing that. Okay, so as you can see here, I've removed all those capacitors. Clean the pads up really good. No torn pads, no torn traces. That's the goal here. So all those capacitors are off. There is a little something there, like I'm wondering if damaged traces. So I've got to take a closer look at that, and probably under my microscope. Just got to make sure the traces are good here, because I do think it was around here that these capacitors leaked, and you got to make sure that the traces weren't damaged from that, because it could be that too. So let's get the microscope out and just take a little look and do some trace testing. Okay, so here I have it under my microscope, and I'm just checking those corroded areas and just scraping away some of that
corroded sort of protective layer that's on there. I'm not sure what the official name for it is. So just scraping it off, and I'm kind of looking underneath to see if there's any kind of damage to the actual traces. I'm not seeing it here as I scrape that off. It looks okay. There are some sort of darker bits. So scraping it off, and then I'll check the traces with my multimeter just to make sure there's continuity between the different places where it should go. This is a sped up video, so trying to save some time here. This is something I'd always do if revive my retro. If anyone sent me that console for a recap and I see anything like this, I go into this level of detail of checking traces and things. If I notice that a capacitor looks like it's leaked, I check all that stuff and I scrape away the sort of corroded protective layer on there, and I'll put some fresh stuff on. There's this stuff you can buy that you coat it with to protect it, and it cures under a UV light, and it pretty much will save it if capacitor leaked in the future. So this is me putting that protective stuff on there. You only need a really small amount for little bits of traces like this that are exposed. So I've tested them, they're all good. Now I'm just covering them up. Since I did scrape some of the corroded bits away, need to put a new fresh coat on there. And that's my UV light just curing it. It hardens in seconds when you do that.
All right, so I did put a little extra on just to create a nice thick seal, but basically what this does is it protects those traces. So in the future, if anything leaked, you know, now that this area is kind of sensitive, you need to cover it up. So that's done. Now, time to pull those new capacitors on. Okay, so all the capacitors on the main board have been replaced with new ones, and we fixed those traces that you can see. So I'm going to test this now. I want to test it before even doing the sound module, because I knew that sound was working on this thing. It was picture that was the issue. So this doesn't handle picture. There's just two capacitors in here. I'll replace those afterwards, but I'm really curious to see if the leaky capacitors was the cause of all these issues on this thing. So let me take it over to my TV, hook it up, and let's check it out and see.
Okay, I've got it hooked up to my TV. I'm about to power it on to see if the issue is fixed or what's going on with it. Powering it up. Hearing the sound. The game is coming up. The picture's coming up. It's better than what it was before. However, if you can see there, the background is really fuzzy and the picture just doesn't look right still. But we're definitely a step ahead, because before it was just not really producing any picture at all. So picture's coming up, but you can see the colors are all messed up. So I'm going to do it to see the picture's not looking too bad there, but I'm going to put another game in to see what it looks like.
So although the games run fine, there is a color issue with this. So that leads me to believe there's more than just a capacitor problem with this. One of the chips is probably bad. It's probably PPU 1 or 2. I'm going to do a little research and digging to see if I can figure out which one it could be. And I may have some spare donor ones lying around that I could probably swap it. So stay tuned. I'm going to do some more digging on this one. Okay, just running the Super Nintendo test cartridge. I noticed it does stop now. The first time it went through, but this time it's actually stopping. And it doesn't say failed there, but usually the red means something failed. And it's not proceeding on with the rest of the test. So that probably means that this is the problem. And I have plenty of donor boards I could get parts from and replace. Oh, you can see it now. You can kind of see it says fail right there. Finally started coming up. So there's an actual problem with this CG RAM. So I bet you if I replace that with one that works, this will fix the console. So this is a really interesting one. I was hoping it was just the capacitors, but it seems like we've got more than just a capacitor failure on this one. So I'm going to do some research, find out exactly what chip that is, and then I can swap it with a good one. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm back and I did some research online, and CG RAM is actually part of PPU2. Usually when you have like picture issues like this, it's one of these chips that's gone bad. So to be able to narrow it down to PPU2 is very helpful for me, because that means I don't have to dig around trying to figure out which chip is actually bad. It's the PPU2. So I'm going to go through, I've got a bunch of extra boards. I'm going to look to see if I can find one and do a swap of the PPU2. I'm going to look for one of my boards that has failed CPUs, so I know the PPU chips are probably fine on them. So I'll grab one from one of those. It's usually the CPU that goes bad, so to have just a bad PPU is pretty lucky. So that's going to be quite an extensive switch. So stay tuned. I'll work on that. It's going to be that's quite a hard one to swap. So I'm going to do that, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I found this board in my collection of donor boards, and I label it bad CPU. So at some point I've looked at this one and kind of made that determination. Hopefully I was right. Try swapping the PPU and see if it works. Okay, got Mr. Bad CPU at my soldering desk, and it's time to remove PPU2 from this one. I'm going to put a little flux around the legs of the chip. That's just to help really transfer the heat. Because when you're doing this, you want to, try not to apply too much heat, but you also need heat to get it off, and hopefully without damaging the chip. So caked it in a little flux there, and what I like to do is I wedge a tool just in the corner, so I can, when I'm running the hot air desoldering on it, I can feel when it's ready to come out. Okay, it seems to work well for me. I have done this in the past, just swap these chips and fix them. So just want to focus in on the actual legs. Let's go around. Eventually, once it reaches a certain temperature, the chip should lift. there are different ways of doing this. Some people use like a chip quick or something like that, it's called. Quick chip. I'm feeling it starting to come off. Yeah, it's on its way. Yeah. A lot of smoke from that flux. But there, it's off. And you've got to let that cool down. It does get hot. But there's the old one off. So I've got my wedge. Let this thing heat back up. Takes a minute. Again, I'm feeling it. Want it to wait to come off. Yeah, it's coming. There it goes. Just popped off that one. There's the old one. I'll put that to the side somewhere. I don't want to get mixed up. And now that we've done that, I'll get my soldering iron up. Let it cool down a bit. I'm going to flux up the pads here a little more. It's just the board's hot, that flux is just melting away. And get my wick and just clean up those pads. I can show you under the microscope that leg that came off. I shouldn't have. And then we'll fix it. I'm going to turn this to an angle so it looks better for me. That's that side done. Okay, now the other two sides. Okay, and then the last side. And I'm going to give it a visual close-up inspection. Okay, I'm just doing the close-up now just to make sure I don't have any bridged pins. Stuff like that, because any bridged pins is going to cause you a problem. So I'm just going over it kind of like one more time to look for any of those bridged pins, clean them out, get them off, and then we've got, so here it is. Just a good amount of rubbing alcohol, kind of dissolve that flux. Okay, stop this from rattling around. Clean those pins up. Just a light brush. I'll use my microfiber cloth to just wipe the board down. There's a lot of flux on there, so I'm gonna make sure that's all come off. Okay, now it's time to fix that one that I broke earlier. So I'm going to switch to my microscope now and we can see it.
Okay, I did have footage from my microscope. It got lost, unfortunately. So I took a picture so you can see what I did. But basically, the pad, some of the pads came off here. They came off so easily. There was definitely something wrong with them. I've never actually done many of these, and I've never seen them come off that easy before. So they must have just been kind of loose anyway. But the three there on the left didn't go to anything anyway, so there's nothing really to worry about with those three. But the fourth one there, it did actually go to a trace and came off. So I just had to kind of bridge the pin over to the trace where it's supposed to go. I used like a really thin wire, thinnest wire I could find, and soldered it on there, which is quite difficult to do, and I'm doing it under a microscope. But got it connected and it read fine using the multimeter, so I knew I'd fixed that. So yep, just one pin I had to fix, thankfully. Wasn't too bad. So all in all, went smoothly. It doesn't usually I don't lose any pads, so this was an interesting one, but fun to do nevertheless. So moving on to the next step, I think I'll be testing it now to see if this. So swapping the PPU with a PPU from a board with a known good PPU, so to see if it resolves these issues. So we'll find out.
New PPU is in. Well, it's not new. It's donated from another board. And I just plugged this all in, and let's see how things are looking. Well, look at that. The surface screen is already looking better. Let's go ahead and run the test. Well, look at that. We saved a Super Nintendo from going in the junkyard. I'm going to pop a game in now and just see. Remember earlier the game was all kind of messed up with the colors, and I think in Super Mario like some characters were showing up like they were pink. So let's go ahead and put Super Mario Kart in there again. Much better. Ah, that fixed it. Excellent. He's my favorite character. There you have it. We fixed this console. That's brilliant that the PPU swap actually did that. I'm not actually playing this with one hand. Could probably try. New challenge. Yeah, I'd say this is fixed. Okay, so I've been sitting here playing Mario Kart for a bit, you know, just testing it all out. Working good. I'm gonna probably do the cleaning on the shell now, de-yellow it, get this all de-yellowed. I'll put a new voltage regulator in and change those capacitors on the sound module too. And then I'll probably skip a few of those parts and just cut to the chase of putting this together and seeing the end result. Okay, I've done the deep cleaning. I've de-yellowed the shell. I didn't do a complete de-yellowing. Still some slight yellowing in the back, but it's, you know, good enough. I don't like to do it too much because it will weaken the plastic a little too much. So it's enough that it doesn't look like a smoker's yellow, but closer to the original color. So it should still look nice. I'm ready to put this back together. I did want to note that I actually put a US power socket in. So I took that from my donor board. And I did have to make some adjustments to it. I had to just shave off some of the plastic here so it would fit in the shell. And another thing I did was I put the US RF outlet in here, so it will work with channels 1 to 3, or 3 to 4, I mean. And the reason why I did that is because I actually damaged the Japanese one when I was removing the old Japanese power outlet. This is the old one, it's very yellow. It's actually exactly the same, except the side has this little kind of ridge there in it. So I carefully shaved away some of the plastic to make it fit. So I'm going to enjoy being able to just use my US cables for this. So let's go ahead and put this back together. Just wanted to pause for a second. You can see here I gave the whole sound module a nice little rust protectant paint job, as I did with the RF unit there. Those things, for some reason, they get prone to rust. So to give it a nice fresh coat of, you know, rust protectant paint, and I've shined up the RF connector right there too, so it makes good contact when you hook it up. Just wanted to pause to show you that. Now continue on with the reassembly. Okay, we're done. So, what a difference we've made to the Super Nintendo. When I got this, it didn't work. It didn't output any picture. We've fixed it, we've cleaned it, we've de-yellowed it. That was quite a job to fix this one, but now I can proudly say I own a Super Famicom that I've fixed. And now I'm going to plug it in and just test it out, make sure it all works after everything I've done. Okay, here we go. Looks like it's working great. I've never played this game. Let's try Mario Kart. Oh, wait. Can't do that one now. Oh, this is the Japanese Mario Kart. Not with this shell. But thankfully I do. I was just saying I do have a Japanese Mario Kart, so I'd put the Japanese one in there. It's funny, I played this game so much and know what everything says. So we're good. But yeah, here we have it, fully fixed. How do you think I did? Pretty good? Well, again, thank you for watching my videos. I really appreciate the support and the likes and the subscribes. It means a lot to me. I want to keep doing this. I would like to keep making more videos and me fixing things. I just need the support from you guys. It means a lot. So it motivates me to make more stuff, make more content, fix more stuff. Hopefully we're all learning from this experience.